Bucks fans have had enough as they lose yet another game to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a game that Giannis Antetokounmpo was out. Damian Lillard stepped up, but the Bucks lose again. Doc Rivers is still under fire, and the Bucks now are last in the Eastern Conference, and things are not getting better. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. If you're a part of the 80 or so percent that aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Bucks content. Now, I know it's a bit rough for Bucks fans, but again, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's dive into it, guys. This is awful. The Bucks lose once again, and I feel like every time I make a video now, it's because the Bucks are losing and they can't buy a win. They are tied for the most losses this season, and quite frankly, this one tonight was an interesting one because on the surface of it, you're thinking, hey, at least they're playing a bit better. They're not being completely out of it. They didn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's dealing with an injury, but boy, oh boy. Bobby Portis slid into the lineup, and he went 10 for 21 points and 18 rebounds. And on the surface, if you didn't watch this game, you'd be thinking, wow, what a game for Bobby Portis Jr. It wasn't the best game for Bobby. I mean, again, he had 21 and 18, solid stat line, but we have to talk about a few different things here. And there is some positives to take from this. There is obviously some negatives as well. We're going to be focusing on a bit of both. So let's just start with the starters. And coming into this game, I mean, you're playing a very good Cleveland Cavaliers team. They weren't on the second night of a back-to-back anymore. They had their time to rest. And the biggest question mark coming into this game was how would the Milwaukee Bucks fare against the Cleveland Cavaliers? And the answer to that was not bad. And they started off really poorly. They had an electric third quarter. We saw AJ Green get 34 minutes. We saw Taurean Prince. He ultimately, AJ Green came in and dominated. And that's the biggest positive of this game was AJ Green. We have a lot to go over, but we're going to start with the starters. So again, Gary Trent Jr., he has been completely unplayable since we signed him. This was a 1-year veteran minimum deal, prove-it deal for Gary Trent Jr. And the only reason we were signing him was to get some extra scoring, and he was going to have a prove-it year. He was going to go sign elsewhere for multiple years, maybe return to the Bucks, depending on what happens. Another game where he had less than 5 points. He had 3 points in the last game against the Cavs, 1 for 7 from the field. 0 for 3 from 3. He hasn't been able to get anything going offensively. He hasn't been great defensively. He's letting his lack of offense translate into also now lack of defense, which is a major problem. And quite frankly, no one tonight besides Dame really stepped up. We saw an okay game from Brook Lopez. Again, Bobby had 21 and 18, but his lack of defense is at the point where it is absolutely detrimental. And again, they're at a point now where he's having fine games, but you cannot rely on Bobby Portis to be, I don't think at this point, your backup power forward. Like, again, 21 and 18 was solid on the surface. You've watched the game. Defensive rotations were lazy. They were terrible. We saw Jared Allen obviously get the bucket for the win over Bobby Portis. And again, Jared Allen has a lot of height on Bobby, but you got to show more effort than that, at least in the defensive end. Taurean Prince, only 15 points, or 15 minutes, rough game for him. Pat Connaughton, I think it's about time we have a conversation about Pat Connaughton. He had a fine game, but losing his minutes to AJ Green. There is a real case to be made at this point that you should slot in AJ Green into this starting lineup instead of Gary Trent Jr. for sure, instead of maybe, Pat Connaughton off the bench. There's so many things here. And again, it's you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, Darius Garland had a great game. We held Donovan Mitchell in check and still lost the game now. Again, Jared Allen, I mean, this team is very good, but man, oh man, the Bucks, they're in a very rough spot. And again, they haven't been able to win. This is a scheduled loss at the point, in a scheduled loss in the sense of once you saw that Giannis was out, this Bucks team didn't have a chance. That's what we thought. But they showed a lot of grit, and there is some positives to take from that, and a lot of that is the grit that I'm talking about. They were able to show that they were capable of making, again, they lost by 2 points. We almost had another Dame time moment. That's back-to-back games now where Dame hit a clutch shot that's, we were thinking, hey, maybe we actually won off his shot. Ultimately didn't happen. He had tied for the most losses this season. Damian Lillard against the Cavs, 36 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 8 turnovers, 5 for 9 from 3, 77 points and 15 threes over a 2-game span against one of the best defenses in the NBA. We know how good the Cavs defense is. They have great defenders. Jared Allen, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley is a triple threat of phenomenal defenders, and Garland and Mitchell aren't phenomenal defenders by any means. But Damian Lillard, on a day where you didn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and quite frankly, you didn't have much else to help you aside from AJ Green stepping up. And again, he went 7 for 9 from 3. He was lighting it up from three-point land. AJ Green, we'll get to him in a minute, deserves a spot. I'd throw him in the starting rotation at this point. Just throw him in there, replace him with Gary Trent Jr., figure it out. But man, oh man, what a game for Damian Lillard. Again, the turnovers were a little bit rough. He had 8 turnovers, but that's going to happen when you don't have Giannis, in the sense of you don't really have a reliable person to pass to, so a lot of your passes are going to be hesitant, especially when I mean, Bobby Portis got only one less shot up than Damian Lillard, which in itself is a bit ridiculous, but it's just the way the offense flowed. Because Gary Trent Jr. was horrible. Bobby Portis was pretty rough. Taurean Prince was terrible. Brook Lopez, it is what it is. Like, the guys aren't playing necessarily horrible. And again, 21 and 18, you'd be thinking, hey, by looking at it, what a phenomenal game from Bobby Portis. Yeah, he had a fine game, but his defense is the problem. And again, he was kind of thrown into the fire there. Yeah, it was great rebounding. The Bucks still struggled to rebound. Andre Jackson Jr. also got in there and had a decent game, 7.7 rebounds. He's doing the little things. However, despite all this, they lost. And again, AJ Green is the best Bucks perimeter defender, and it's time people realize it. The Bucks' best perimeter defender. And I would agree. They threw him out there for 34 minutes. He replaced Gary Trent Jr. He was a pure 3-and-D player. 7 for 9 from 3. He had 6 rebounds. He had an assist. He had 21 points. And if you were out there watching him guard, look at Donovan Mitchell's stats. 14 points. Obviously, Darius Garland hooped, but he was very good defensively. He was pesky. It didn't really translate to stats. He had a block, but it didn't really translate to steals or anything like that. But you can see the clear difference in defense between him and a lot of the guys. Gary Trent, Damian Lillard, even just like the big man, Bobby Portis. Like, the effort level is completely different for AJ Green. And that's because he has something to prove. And he's going out there. He's giving it 110% every single time. He's getting in the guys' faces. He's playing pesky, fundamental defense, which is something the Bucks desperately need, and it's why they were +5 with him on the floor, but they just looked way better. So throw him in there, throw him into the fire, because guards against the Bucks this season: Garland, 39 points, Kobe White, 35 points, Cam, 32 points, Cam Thomas, and then of course Donovan Mitchell, Dennis Schroeder. Like, not a lot of these guys a few of them aren't elite. Peyton Pritchard probably shouldn't have 28 points against us. Dennis Schroeder is having a phenomenal year with the Nets, but should not have 29 points with us. Cam Thomas, he's a bucket. Kobe White, he's a bucket, but not 35, 32 points. They need to get some defense in there. And if Gary Trent Jr. is not going to be that guy who can play good defense, he's not giving you anything offensively. He was a team worst -19, and Bucks fans have had enough of Gary Trent Jr. going out there and just being completely unplayable on the floor. It's brutal. Taurean Prince has been pretty bad. Pat Connaughton, on the surface, fine game, but I think it's time that AJ Green takes Pat Connaughton's spot. He takes Gary Trent Jr.'s spot. Change something up, and they were forced to throw Bobby Portis into the starting lineup tonight. His defense ultimately cost them, but they need Chris Middleton back, and we sure as hell hope that Giannis is going to be fine, because Dame had another great game, but they cannot rely on him to continue to put up 40 pieces and not win any ball games. They fall to 1-6. They're last in the East. They're tied for the worst record in the NBA. And fans have had enough. So let me know down below. Again, there's some positives. AJ Green looks like not a prospect anymore, like an actual rotation piece. Same with Andre Jackson Jr. I didn't touch on him a ton. Looked phenomenal out there once again. 7 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, doing all the little things. Had a block as well. So it's very intriguing. Again, AJ Green, phenomenal defender. Didn't get the stats to really, go back in there and prove it. But at 25 years old, AJ Green's not a prospect anymore. Just throw him out in there and let him be. I mean, he's technically a prospect, but just let him. He doesn't play like a prospect. Let him take Gary Trent Jr.'s spot. I don't care that you're paying Gary Trent Jr. I mean, the veteran minimum. Throw him out there and let him ball. But that'll wrap it up. Let me know what comments your thoughts are on this. I want to see AJ Green start the next game, and if not, I'll be very upset. But let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure to hit the subscribe button what you think. We'll see you guys later.